right, so the Bulls have won, the Stormers have lost, the margins are fine. I wrote that in my Sunday Times column. It didn't need a genius to write that, but I just pointed out the obvious. We're back on the mezzanine deck in Devil's Peak. The winds are with Zels, blowing of change. He picked the Bulls. I picked the Stormers, as I always will pick the Stormers. I picked them by 4 points. Zels picked them, the Bulls, by 12. He had a 30-18 out of 23-19. At one stage, when it was 28-27, opportunity for the Stormers, 65 minutes to kick for post. Take it, that's 30 points, and I've got the 30. Zels, what amused me more than anything, as I was heartbroken, I was crushed after that game, thinking, one, how were we in a position to win it? And I say we, the Stormers, and then how did we lose it, okay? Then I watched, on Sunday, as I was going through my timeline, I watched Marcel Couture give a post-match thing saying it was a great win. They knew they could finally break the hoodoo in Cape Town. They thought their game management was good to close out the game. And I thought, mate, you were looking up at a post thinking this guy's going to sink at Clayton Blom. We're going to lose right in front. And we're going to have to explain how we lost this game 34-33. How did you manage that game in the last few minutes? I don't think so.
They didn't manage it at all at the end.
No. That column I had to write for the Sunday Times, I had to rewrite it, okay? Because I had the Bulls clobbering them, then I had the Stormers coming back with a miracle. And I spoke to Gav. Gav reached the Supersports and he started writing the thing. What a Stormers win. And he looked up and the guy had missed, okay? So some would say that it was easier to miss that kick than to get it. I feel for Clayton Blommetjies, he was in tears. 33-32, your reflection of that game. Ace assembling that thing, Bulls forever, and I'm like, but for that conversion, you would have probably been where Jake White would be now in Tygerberg intensive care. All I know is that Clayton Blommetjies saved Jake White's life.
Yeah,
because I don't think Jake would have ever lasted that kick. To have come down in the dominance they had in that first 50, especially at the set piece, to lose it. And then I'm just very grateful today that Dobbo had the kindness to take Steve Satoli off. Otherwise, he may not be around today after what Wilco Lowe did to him. I mean, he did say Wilco Lowe was the strongest scrummager in the URC, and then Wilco just showed him why he is the strongest scrummager. So kudos to Steve for still being with us. And Jake, I'm glad you're still with us. 7 from 9. The Bulls charging up the table. Your impressions of a game. 47,000 sold out at Cape Town Stadium. The advertisement for South African rugby?
Absolutely. I mean, so maybe it's because I'm South African, but I really enjoyed the contest. Technically, maybe not the best at times, but it was hammer and tongs. Guys gave it their all. From the opening kickoff, Cam Hanekom ran through about 12 Stormers, and you just knew this was going to be a good game. Massive credit to the Stormers for coming back into that thing. The injury list is well documented, and for them to fight their way back, I thought they'd lose by 12 points, 30-18, and they made it a nail biter. So credit to them. They could have won it at the end. Like Jake said after the game, if they had lost, if Blommetjies' kick had gone over, he would have been talking about how did we find a way to lose this game. I think Skulk also said it to him. I've never seen a team work so hard to try and lose. So great result for the Bulls. Massive fight from the Stormers. I think both teams can take a lot out of it. Obviously, the Stormers would prefer to be on the winning side of this equation.
Well, you know the beautiful thing about chatting about a game on a Monday, not straight after the game, where all you've had is an emotion, the vision. Which angle were you at? Were you behind the post at the game? Were you at the side? Were you at the chippy corner? Were you at Castle corner? Were you on your couch? Did you go to the fridge? Where were you when you actually watched it in silence with no commentary for the second or third time on a Sunday as it replays, as I do? Yep. So we've got to do in our profession. We've got to watch this game 2 or 3 times. You actually see a bit of a different game. Now, I also had that feeling of the Bulls would have been absolutely gutted had they lost and thought, how did you lose it? But in the context of the game, that last 30 minutes, there was only really one team in it, and it was the Stormers.
That's true.
They had all the momentum when they went ahead. The Akka van der Merwe breakaway was through a Stormers mistake. They were basically in Bulls half, controlling territory, controlling tempo. Brock Harris came on and did an incredible job of stabilizing the scrum. And you just felt, well, I felt the Stormers watching that had momentum, had the kicks gone over. Yuri Matia, he missed 3 in a row, 2 conversions and a penalty. It stretched the lead to maybe two scores. Bulls will then have to play from 80. They got that soft try just after half-time. And then they got that Akka breakaway that led to a try. But I felt that the Stormers could justifiably say, somehow we survived that first 35, 40 minutes and only trailed by a point. And we should have won it in the end. And we should have won it more cleanly because of the missed kicks, but also because of the momentum they had. So it was a game that both teams will feel they did enough to win, and both would question, how did they actually lose?
Yeah.
But the margins are, they are so fine. Eh? The story of a 34-33 win in those conditions, with the Stormers side lacking Sasha, lacking Marnie, lacking Damien, Solomon Hotzenberg, Sinatla, Ruan Nel. I mean, that's their first choice backline there. The only two would make it would be Warwick Galant at fullback, and one of the halfbacks would be there. The rest would be in that starting lineup, and one of them on the bench as well.
Yeah.
So to actually be that competitive, with no disrespect to the guys who started, but that was the second string guys who started. And yeah, I just thought it was an incredibly brave performance from the Stormers. But wow, what a story it would have been had the Stormers won. But in the context of the league in South Africa, a great result for the Bulls, because it keeps them right up there in third, challenging for top two with a game in hand.
Exactly, and it also talks to the point that you made in that column that you mentioned.
A mighty fine column, I must add.
Mighty fine column, about the value of playing at home. So for anybody who's doubting whether their presence at a game on the weekend makes any difference, it makes a massive difference. That Stormers team rallied to almost beat the Bulls, an extremely strong Bulls team with Willie Leroux at 10, also missing a few players, but a potent lineup, arguably the best tight head scrummager in the world, who just absolutely wrecked them at scrum time. So playing at home, massive impact. The Bulls, I think, are a team that have to answer the question about those fourth quarter fades, the second half fades. I wouldn't say it's an every time thing, but it is a recurring issue for them. They have to learn to close games out better. I don't know whether that's about giving the guys who are on the bench regularly more starting time, how they're going to do it, but they need to solve that. And then in that column you said, for the Bulls to win this thing, they're going to have to get home field advantage. And I think that's a very valid point.
Well, you go back to that game, 2 o'clock kickoff, Saturday afternoon, perfect weather in Cape Town. Incredibly good time to kick off as well. You feel like the morning's not yet done. You've got to get to the stadium over by kind of 4 o'clock. The whole night, either to celebrate, to mourn, to cry, to cheer, to jeer, knowing that Ricketts was coming the next morning to panel beat some oak from Canada, is it?
USA, is
the
he?
USA, is it? Yeah.
Sean
Strickland, yeah, but he panel beated him magnificently. Beautiful meme. I know we just going off course here. Imad put it on that one. He doesn't know what we knows.
No, he does.
with his nose basically
sideways.
With his nose put down to New Zealand and put it back to Sydney. Okay,
what a fight.
But it was a great weekend for South African sport. When you look at the cricket final of the SA20. My Cape Town beating the Sunrisers, 25,000 there. You look at Loftus Sundowns Pirates, full on Sunday. Last week in Soweto Derby, full for Chiefs and Pirates. And then you look at 47,000 here. What an incredible message it sends to the world. South African sport is alive and well. Rassie Erasmus said it. Rugby is alive and well. If we look at that England-France game, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. But the spectacle, it seldom delivers. A game like the Bulls and the Stormers seldom delivers on the hype. 33-32. There could have been 34-33. 9 tries. And then the two main attractions. Evan Roos at 8 for the Stormers.
Beautiful.
Cam Hanekom at 8 for the Bulls. Immediately delivered. I mean, Cam Hanekom took that kickoff. It wasn't 12. It was actually 5. He broke 2 tackles, or 6, and then he broke a bunch of 4, and he went 40 meters.
You need to add Ben Loader to that, because Ben tried to tackle him and he grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, and while he was running past him, he just threw him onto the grass.
Threw him back to the Premiership.
That was
Okay,
incredible.
so he said, off you go, back to the UK. But an incredible start to that game, and I thought, as Harry could see when he got that white, when he got hit by Michael Doakes, and he started seeing the white come out of his nose, and he thought, oh, and I thought, Dobbo, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
And it looked like that. And then that first scrum that only came on 15 minutes, and I think Steve Satoli was like me, thinking, no, don't drop the ball, anyone. Let me just get to 40. And wow, Wilco he's just a man mountain. What a specimen. Imagine any other country, he'd play 100 tests for them.
I mean,
if New Zealand had him.
I think he could sell quad pictures on OnlyFans.
That's incredible. And then he only played 28 minutes, but a very important 28 for Jan Hendrik Wessels to come through on the loose head against one of the best tight ends in the world, consistently at Bok level, Frans Malherbe. I mean, we know that engine is still warming up for the test season, but 28 minutes, he looked solid, but also it does help when you've got that man mountain on your right, and you got Grobby's there, and then Akker coming on as well. They lost Kobus Visa, but all round their pack was so strong, and the Stormers pack is one of the strongest ordinarily in the competition, and they were schooled at set piece. Line-up was a lot better than it's been in previous weeks, but with that forward dominance and Willie LaRue just being a magician at 10, I really did think it was going to get messy, and then somehow the Stormers were there. They were ahead 17-15.
They are scrappers, mate. They are scrappers. They'll find a way. They'll fight back.
17-15, then a late penalty, David Creel, 18-17. It's like, and then that soft one straight at the start of the second half. I thought, okay, well, curtains are open, and then the Stormers just grew into it. And you know, it's not glorifying a defeat at all, but there was a victory for so many of those players. There was a victory for Dobo and his coaching team. 47,000 playing at Cape Town. If you looked at the two team lineups, the expectation had to be that this was the one that the Bulls win, and they win with something to spare. I backed the Stormers to win because they fight, and because I'm obviously biased. I'm based in Cape Town. I love the Stormers. I'm always going to back for the Stormers. So if you are betting on it, take that into consideration. When I say Stormers to win and box by 10, always just kind of go and check the form book, okay? I'm always going to say those two things. But I just felt that they delivered. They delivered with a squad that has been so depleted this season. I can't recall a Stormers squad ever in the history of the Stormers having so many players out injured with a range of injuries, a variety that you can't just say that's soft tissue, that's maybe because of conditioning coaches or because of their training setup. It's the most freakish injuries seem to be happening to these guys. But to come back and be on the cusp of victory. I think Clayton Blomikis, I know he was in tears. He wasn't picked to kick them a victory. So let's also put that into context.
I mean, how much rugby has that guy played, actually?
Well, he played more, 3 minutes, than he's played for the last 2 months, I think. But I also found that they were trying to bring that clock down to that there wouldn't be a kickoff. And he certainly rushed the kick as well. He was down to 2 or 3 seconds. I thought he was going to be timed out, and that may have been a better result for him. Imagine that controversy.
I didn't miss. We just ran out of time.
Imagine that controversy. As he kicks it, it goes over.
Mate,
and
that would have been a Peter
Marshall
moment.
And the referee says, timed out, mate.
No, that would have been a Peter Marshall
And then they've got to go to the TMO for the next 5 minutes on super slow motion, right down to the freeze frame. And then someone will say that it actually didn't go over.
Oh.
That would have been drama.
That would have been big drama, mate.
But in the context, okay, let's talk context of the league. The Stormers, I still back them to get a top 8. They'll play away from home in the playoffs. Top 4 is gone and was always going to be a bit unrealistic given the start that they had.
Yeah.
But from a South African perspective, vital that the Bulls kept on winning. They're now 7 from 9.
And
They've
bunch
got a
of
game
home
in
games
hand,
coming.
And they continue to win. They will end second, which gives them that home advantage. And then you hope that a Glasgow or one of those teams can go to Dublin and maybe do a slightly understrength Leinster, who are then preparing for the Champions Cup final.
Yeah.
It's all written in the globes.
Listen, what the Stormers have got going for them is they don't have to think about European Cups. So that period that's coming up now where the Bulls and the Sharks are going to have to go play European Cup rugby, that changes things a little bit in terms of your planning. I think the Stormers can obviously just do a bit of R&R during that period, and that's a big advantage. They're also getting a bunch of guys to come back soon, which will help. I think the Bulls, with this home run that's coming up, that's definitely going to put them in a position to like you say, lay a claim for a top 2 finish. I like the Bulls' chances on this. I think Willie LaRue at 10 changes the dynamic of that team. And I think if they can fix those second half fades, this is a team that has potential to go all the way.
Willie looked so comfortable on the ball. Every time he got the ball, I thought, something's going to happen. He knows how to find space. He knows how to read field position. But he just looked so easy and comfortable, and he didn't look angry. You know, when he's at fullback, he looks angry all the time. I think he's not involved in the game.
He's not touching the ball enough.
He's not touching the ball. The moment he's touching the ball, he's going.
Willie LaRue looked like somebody who was playing behind Wilco Lowe, and I think that's the advantage. You know, to be a fly off behind a scrum that's going forward like that, you've got all the time in the world. With his experience, it's a fantastic
look, I've seen a few Oaks play behind Wilco Lowe and don't look that good, okay? But Marcus Smith did look good when he was playing behind him at Harlequins, and he had Andre the Giant on his inside. At 12, Andre Esterhazen. I thought Willie was outstanding. Willie looks like he's getting younger as well.
Mate,
so just as we were retiring him a year ago, Willie looks like he's back. He's got another 2 seasons
in him. It's the creatine.
He just looks happy. I think he's extended his contract at the Bulls. He was going to leave. They realized they need to pay him a lot more because he's actually worth so much to that team.
Yeah.
Player, coach. I just felt he was exceptional in the way he controlled the game. An interesting thing that we chatted about is the goal kicking. Charles Kraus managed to sort out some stats. Thanks, Charles, CEO of the URC. He got us some stats from the boys at the URC just to look at team success rates when it comes to penalties and conversions.
Okay.
And we know through all the emphasis being on Marnie, Yuri Matia missing 3, Clayton missing 3, the Stormers' goal kicking has been an issue this season. Damien Villeneuve is 78%. That Munster game, I think he kicked 100%. So Damien, just like it looked like he was going to solve our kicking woes, and Sasha is just a natural kicker of the ball, and he's always in the high 70s, close to 80%.
Yeah.
But the Stormers, 67% when it comes to penalties, and 60% on conversions.
Sure.
So when you look at the best teams in the competition, Leinster are 80% from penalties and 80% from conversions. Glasgow 100% from penalties and 80% from conversions.
Sure.
The Sharks, 80+% from, I think 82% from penalties, 94% conversions.
Wow.
And that's Sia and Jordan Hendrickson made a massive difference there. And goal kicking is vital in this competition. The 2 points for a conversion, the hit post, 3 points for a missed kick. Now, the Stormers are among the poorest, but they also play the most games at the DHL Stadium. Is there an issue with that stadium, with a wind that's gusting? How difficult is it to kick in that stadium? Remember the old Newlands? Monty used to say, if you get them down in the one corner, you don't get them out from that one. It's very hard with a swirling wind. We've seen in the test match, Damian McKenzie missed some sitters in that All Black test match.
Yep.
Sasha came on, fluffed a few kicks as well. Cheslin, just that drop goal that went skew from right in front. Are we being too harsh on the kickers, or is it that it's the DHL Stadium in Cape Town with the ocean, the wind coming from there, the wind coming down from the mountain? Is it a factor that it's a difficult ground to kick on?
I think yes. I think definitely. I think it's a couple of things, and I'm obviously speculating on this, but I think obviously Cape Town Stadium seems to be quite a difficult place to kick at because in multiple games with different teams, it seems like the kicking's going great, and then there's just this inexplicable shank or fade, and you're trying to work out how did that happen. And I think for the Stormers who play all of their games there, that's perhaps why we see such a prevalence of that. I think specifically for the Stormers, maybe you see more of that with their goal kickers because kicking for posts is definitely tertiary to their plans. Their plans are to score tries, their plans are to turn penalties into field position and strike from set piece and get 5 pointers. They're very much about that narrative. And you get the impression sometimes that kicking for posts is the last thing that Marnie or Gaza or any of those guys actually want to do. It's an instruction that comes down more than it is something that comes from them. Whereas, you know, back in the day, Willem de Waal, he couldn't wait for a penalty so he could bang it at the sticks. I think there's a difference in mentality there that perhaps plays into it. And then maybe lastly, I'm not convinced that the way the guys kick the ball now with the ball basically parallel to the ground on this raised kicking tee, I'm not sure how much of that is science and how much of that is sort of accepted trendy protocol. You know, you go back to the days with Nas Botha when he used to kick that leather ball that probably weighed about 5 kgs. That thing was standing straight up. Percy Montgomery, one of the most prolific kickers in the history of world rugby, he kicked it straight up. So I just wonder, because the sweet spot is much bigger when the ball is standing straight up than it is when you've got it sort of with its point pointing towards the goalpost. I just wonder how much of a factor that is.
Look, we'll follow that up when we chat on Thursday again, when we preview this weekend's derbies up in the Highveld. It's the Lions hosting the Stormers and obviously the Bulls at home to the Sharks. It's going to be two rippers again. But if you look at the great goal kickers in history, well, in modern times, when I say modern, anything past the 80s, okay? We didn't have to toe punt it. But you take Graham Fox, you take Hugo Porter, DeVet Russ, Robbie Blair, the great Nasty Botha, Nas Botha. You look at Joel Stransky, Yanni de Beer. Brahm was obviously, I mean, he was a flank centre who played fluff.
Correct.
He kind of torpedoed it and reinvented it and
Yeah.
had one of the most accurate kicking rates. I mean, that's just down to he bloody mindedness. He taught himself
Pure
how to kick
force.
in a different way.
Yeah.
Superb returns that he had. But on the whole, and you go back with the days of the leather ball, some used to use a bit of sand. Some of them used to just plonk it, hakstien in, and into the ground. They plonk it down, whack it over, and move back. So Neil Jenkins, I think he may have been Johnny Wilkinson, slight
tilt, yeah.
Side tilt. I don't know if it's got to do with the synthetic ball or if it's got to do with the leather ball. I would have to chat to the likes of Monty. I'll give him a call in the week. Maybe get an opinion from Nasty. We played with a leather ball or Robbie Blair. I remember Robbie Blair, he was my idol growing up. I loved a kicker. Okay? I had a lot of scrapbooks about him. Only ever met him a couple of years ago. They say never meet your heroes because it'll be a disappointment. That wasn't. It was a great day out at Stellenbosch Golf Club. And I asked him about that All Black game in 76. I mean, Robbie Blair was on average an 80% plus kicker. That left foot was just magnificent. Whether he played for Stellenbosch University, whether he played for Western Province, he played that one test for the Springboks when they beat the World 45-24 it was, I think. And he got 21 points. We scored 6 tries. I watched the highlights the other day, actually. He played for Transvaal, the old Transvaal. He came back, he played for Van der Stel. I even started backing Van der Stel for that season. But he actually got on for that 75th game. This is a nice, cool story. You had to get 75 games to play to get 2 season tickets for Western Province for the rest of your life. And he was on 74. And he went to Transvaal and he worked there as they did in the days, and he played. He kicked a lot of points. Yardley Cup, Curry Cup, beat Province 18-9, 5 penalties and a drop goal. So Nick Mallet was coaching us at my school in Fairmont. We lost to Settlers that Saturday. They lost to Transvaal. Mallet kind of destroyed us on Monday at training. I asked him what Blair did to them, and that was the end. I had to run and tackle. But unbeknownst to him, my mom had written him a letter to say, no one prayed as much for you to get on that field to get your 75th cap as my son, who's obviously then a teenager. And he got on for 2 minutes. Corky van Heerden hobbled off in the final against Vernon Claasen's Natal, which Province won 99, I think it was. And I ran onto the field, gave him a tap on the back. You got your 75th cap. And he sent me his socks. A couple of weeks later, I was practicing cricket in the nets. He sent me his socks. And he said, I think these socks mean more to you than they do to me.
Wow.
With a little note. And he said, they say that it was the best game that Blair ever played. I never touched the ball. 2 minutes. So, lovely sense of humor.
Brilliant.
So, when you go back to those quality of kickers, and the success rates that they had.
Yeah.
And they could kick. Gerald Bosch as well. I mean, just incredible goal kicker. We were so blessed in South Africa. When you think of De Vetras, Gerald Bosch, Robbie Blair, Nas Botha. I mean, wow. And then Lon Sherrill, when he came on the scene, could kick for Province as well. So, I don't know but there's something that's amiss. In Cape Town, it's a hard ground to kick at, but there's something amiss with our kickers, and I think maybe what you said, the mentality isn't there that we've got someone who's a natural goal kicker outside of Sasha, because he's always played his career as captain, fly-off, and goal kicker. Where Damien is, if I have to kick, I will. And Mani was, I don't really kick, but I can. And that mentality is there. And again, you saw David Krill. He's not a first-choice kicker. He missed 4. We missed 4. I think 3 or 4. But you never saw Mornay Steyn miss down here.
Not a chance, mate.
Let's take that kick he kicked against the British and Irish Lions. Polly had missed 1 just before that. Mornay Steyn enters. Boom. Over. The series Stephen Jones and the boys will never forget. So, I mean, but you can't be winning championships with you kicking 60% of your conversions and 67% of your penalties.
Also, it's not good for South African rugby in the sense that as much as we want to pretend that this game is about scoring tries, when you go upper level to the test arena, the margins are narrower generally. You've got to bang those points over. And to kind of be a country where you have fly halves where kicking is optional, I think maybe doesn't help the Springboks.
Well, we saw this with Pollard in the World Cup. 13 from 13. We were kicking at 49% before him. Between Faf, Cheslin, Mani, I don't know, did someone else kick as well? But just the value of that. And then what it also means is a team will make mistakes because they think they're not going to go for 3.
You can put your hands in the ruck, what's going to happen?
Now, convergence for me, when I looked at these stats, and thanks again, Charles Kraus, if you can just sort Meta out for us as well, we'd be happy. And our home final for the Bulls. Be great, thanks. When I looked at those stats, conversions it's in the devil's in the detail. The Bulls, 64% of the tee when it comes to penalties, 87% conversions. You got to think they're scoring them under the sticks.
Man.
And so it's where is that conversion time? Because the kicker has no option there.
Yeah.
The kicker is got to kick from wherever they dot down.
Yeah.
So there's a deeper analysis that comes to that stat.
Spot on.
But a penalty is between the kicker and the captain. They decide, I can nail this one. It's 3 points. If you're returning 65, 67%, 60%, then it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
You don't really know.
You don't know your limits.
So
Yeah.
I remember a session I attended with during the Jake White coaching courses with Eddie Jones 20 years back. And Clive Woodward was also out here for a bit. And he spoke about Johnny Walken's incredible success rate, funny enough, outside of 3 World Cups, where he never kicked well at World Cups, okay? And the stats showed up. He's a 60% kicker at World Cups. New Zealand 2011, 2003 in Australia,
Mentality.
and 2007, he was kicking 61% when Monty was kicking 81.
Wow.
But over and above that, he was always in the 80s, especially at Twickenham.
Yeah.
But Clive Woodward's thing was that he would never take a kick he didn't believe he could get over. So he would never take an early kick from 55 meters, because then he was 0 from 1. Then a touchline conversion, 0 from 2. And all of a
Important
sudden,
innings.
they say,
Yeah.
he hasn't got his boots here today.
Yeah.
So I find a lot of our kickers need to be more firm and say to the captain, I can't get it. Or this is a speculator. It's stroke of half-time. Dan Carter at Loftus, when Richie McCaw said, 62 meters, can you do it? He said, the siren's going to go, I'll give it a bash. Longest kick he ever kicked. It went over, swung the momentum of the test match.
I'm just saying, in pro sport now, with the game being as professional as it is, these kickers, the whole team should know where the kicker can get it from. It shouldn't be a how do you feel right now, do you think it's on? You've got the entire week, all you do as a pro rugby player is think about pro rugby. This guy should be banging them over from all over the field at training, so you have a clear sort of kick chart as to, and I said this to Jacques a million years ago, this is exactly how you can map out where the guy, what his success rate is from different parts of the field. So before you even go into the game, you say, if we get a penalty anywhere here, we're taking the points. It's part of your planning.
Well, I was fortunate to write Percy Montgomery's biography, also produce with Barry Media the coffee table book of his 102 tests.
Yeah.
Monty, one of my dear friends, we became very, very good friends through that period. Also became very good friends. We went through our divorces. So kind of on a social element, we're there. But Monty showed me his little book. Every single Springbok training session, he still has that book. He's kicking. How many from in front? How many from the 15?
Mentality,
How
right?
many from the corner? Where does he kick from? Into the wind, with the wind, what his success rate was. Then how did that translate into a match situation? And Monty was an inconsistent kicker in these first 50 tests because he didn't know if he was going to be kicking. Like he says, that test match, he was blamed for missing 3 on his debut against the Lions.
Juba had missed.
Honeyball had missed. They gave it to him in his first test match. He scored a try, but the irony is 81% in 2007 when he was at his peak. And in the 4 years...
One knee.
And one knee, basically,
Yeah.
And the 4 years that he came back and played for Jake White, when Jake went to Newport and said, I want you to come back, you're going to start at 15, you're going to be my goal kicker, minimum 75%, what you aim for is 80, otherwise you don't play. You will be my goal kicker. And that's what he went on in those last 50 tests is where most of his points came.
Wow.
And he was consistently a 75% goal kicker. But he worked at his craft and he honed his craft. And Pollard's been the same. Pollard has become so much more consistent, especially at test level. Where I used to watch him at Paul Gym when he was a schoolboy. Also a bit of hit and miss. When he was playing at the Bulls, when Mornay Steyn was playing and he was coming in, you wouldn't put your life on him kicking it. Now you do. You're shocked if he misses a kick. So goal kicking, which has always been one of the strengths of South African rugby, in the URC, it's great to see the Sharks getting it right with Sia and Jordan Hendrickson.
Yeah.
To be at 94%
Wow.
and 82%. They're not going to be losing games because of kicks.
Then
They're winning.
also,
They're winning games because of kicks, and they won a Currie Cup final because of a 55-meter kick.
But
from
listen,
Jordan
you spoke
Hendrickson.
about conversions earlier. You know, if you score a try close to the sticks, your conversion rate will be high. I suppose with penalties, it's the same. You know, their strategy may be that they don't take penalties unless they're 100% sure that thing's going over. And maybe the strategy from some of those other South African teams is they'll kind of roll the dice a bit, have a crack from 45 on the edge, whereas the Sharks say, listen, we're not even going to try that. So their percentage success rate there may be a little bit padded by their strategy around what they do with penalties. I don't know.
But then the psychology, and you speak to the New Zealanders in 2009 when Frans Steyn kicked those 2 monsters in Hamilton.
Yeah.
60 meters and 62 meters on sea level in the Great Waikato in Hamilton. And you speak to the New Zealanders afterwards and what they said in the media. The moment he kicked that, the psychology was, we can't make a mistake.
100%.
We can't make a mistake within 40 meters of their try line.
Spot on.
Because this guy could punish us. And
Spot on.
it changed their dimension in terms of their attack. It changed the way McCall was playing to the ball, because he felt, listen here, if I give away one on their 10-meter line, this guy could still ban it over. And those 6 points took us to 9-3 early on in the game. We went away, had a big lead, and then had to rely on a bit of good fortune to win that thing 32-29 at the end when Carter did the cross kick, and fortunately it didn't fall in their hands. But goal kicking, paramount to success. We've seen it with Andre Pollard with the Springboks. We've seen it with Yanni De Pierre wherever he's played. We saw it with Monty at his best. And we've certainly seen it back in the day with all our South African kickers. We've seen the value of good goal kicking.
Eric Herbert
from the Northern Free State, who broke nearly every record in this country.
Yeah.
Purple, people eating panthers, Satanism and purple eating panthers in Volcom. That's what you get, apparently, okay? So, Eric Herbert, 3 points
How to write off a town.
Eric Herbert, 3 points guaranteed. Oh, for Eric Herbert in that last second on Saturday. Wheel him out. Maybe it would be great if rugby was a bit like
the NFL, specialist kickers, absolutely.
Just bring him on, for those kicks,
Absolutely.
Be wonderful.
Glorious.
Brom could still be playing.
Yeah, he would be.
He'd be the Brock of the back, sir. Bring him on. But you look at those kickers, and then the one that I wanted to mention at first, and he slipped my mind because I was just getting so excited. Morné Steyn, a guy who just never got his dues in this country.
Never.
The most prolific goal kicker. His average was close to, I think it was 80% throughout his Test career. At provincial level was probably even higher. But clutch kicks, like we look at Bowden Barrett, he scored 700 and close to 800 points. But people still doubt his clutch kicking in big games because he's missed a few. Geordie Barrett the same.
Wow.
Even Richie Mahunga at Test level.
Yeah.
But Morné Steyn, when that arm went up from a penalty, you knew. And when he plonked it down somewhere, and Derek Hougaard before him, also, it's like Derek Hougaard always says, everyone says Brian Abana won the Super Rugby title for the Bulls because he scored. But I still had to kick the conversion. And he had to. It wasn't the easiest of one.
True.
And no one says Derek Hougaard won it. They say Brian Abana won it. So it's like in the NFL. People only remember the kicker when he misses. Not when he gets it.
But if you were building the ultimate Springbok and you had to sort of personify who would be the brain, I mean, Morné Steyn would be a good guy to pick.
Yes, Morné Steyn, again, I think every other country recognized his value. We didn't here.
Yeah,
When I say we, the people always wanted a Sasha type 10. They wanted a Lockham type 10, but who could kick like Carter.
Yeah.
They want Polly, who kicks it now at 80%, to play like Sasha. But then when Sasha, they want him to kick like Polly. So we're never content with what we've got. But Morné Steyn, the most underrated person that played for the Springboks
Top
in terms of value.
Yeah.
And he could play.
Yeah.
He could play, and he could tackle.
He played 12 at the Bulls.
That tackle he put in on Brodie Retallick for the Bulls against the Chiefs, magnificent, okay? And you score 31 points against the All Blacks as he did.
Wow.
In Durban. 31-19 we won. He scored a try. The great irony of that day is he actually missed a drop goal and a kick at poles, and he still got 31 points.
Wow.
And what people said is, how did he actually miss one?
Yeah.
But Morné Steyn, I mean, maybe we should get him down to Cape Town and start working with our kickers a bit. And no disrespect to Gareth Wright, but maybe an outsider just to look and say, what is going on? Is it the field conditions? But we are going to follow up on that and get you a bit more science about field conditions at the DHL Stadium. And see, does that play a contributing factor? And who has kicked well there? I do know that Damian Willemse kicked very well against Munster. I don't think he missed one. Amani has kicked well on occasion there, but it's been hit and miss. But kicking, the Stormers have to get their kicking right.
Yep.
The Bulls have to get their penalty kicking right.
Yep.
If they're going to go further in this tournament beyond a playoff. The Lions, their kicking is very good. They're up in the percentage. The best is the Sharks. They're third on the table at the moment, fourth on the table at the moment. And that's also good for our game. One of our teams, be it the Sharks or the Bulls, is going to get a win, and that puts them further up in contention for a home playoff.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the Sharks and Bulls are very much in contention. Some good stats you've mentioned there to back up why they're there, and let's hope that the end run, the sort of the straight, the home straight for those guys plays out like we needed to for South African rugby.
And because I know people are going to comment on the YouTube because they like to insult us outside of saying, love you guys, shout out from Kazakhstan or wherever. They're going to say, why are you shouting a bit, Keo? Because the wind is howling.
It is howling.
The wind is is howling here at HQ. We're in Devil's
I've got
Peak
rocks
in
in my
Cape Town,
pockets.
and I'm bowling into the wind. Okay.
Yeah.
Every time I look at Zels, that jelly's just going a bit pulled back. Even his guns are looking a little bit battered there. You see now, if the wind was going into me, I could be pushed back like this.
There you go, mate.
Looking,
You gotta
looking lean, like I'm
look
going
lean,
to the
look
gym in
lean.
the next hour. Guys, look out for me at Wembley. I'll be the guy on the bicycle sweating a lot, moaning and groaning. The last thing I'm going to touch on the game.
Sure, you got to mention Akka
No, we're going to
and
get
the way
them.
he dragged her.
Mate,
Come
I
on.
said the
Come
last
on.
thing we're going to chat about is everything. Okay. Firstly, Cam Honeycomb, Evan Rust. We actually spoke about them as a title thing in last week and forgot to speak about them.
Yes. Yeah.
It actually slipped my mind. We
Yeah.
had so much fun. Cam Honeycomb, player of the game, just everywhere. I don't mind a guy making mistakes if he's trying things, but there were 2 kickoffs he would have thought, how did I drop them? So that's what Rassie would look at and say, I know what you can do, but you can't make those mistakes
Correct.
in a test match.
Yeah.
But what I loved is the Honeycomb, Rus, and 8s don't normally play 8s. 8 plays 10 because that's who he's running at, or 12. But 8 played 8 in this game.
Yeah.
They seem to seek each other out.
It was glorious.
In that last 20, they were looking for each other. The Paul Boys are a reunion.
Glorious. It was glorious.
Grade 10 plays grade 12. A couple of head-on tackles. Nice little...
Niggle from Rose.
Yeah, let's just
Loved it.
eat the turf.
Loved it. Great try from Rose.
Synthetic. Is dit gras?
Don't eat the stuff, it's
Is die
poison.
gras groen in Pretoria? Ja! That's baie groener. Geef my die pen. Cam Honeycomb, I thought, again, benefiting from playing behind the more dominant pack in the first
Definitely.
half. But Evan Rus, when he came into the game in the last 20, 25, looked a lot more competitive. On balance, I would say neither, both did themselves a service, not a disservice.
Correct.
I thought Cam, obviously, because of that dominance, and he had that electric run, great turnover steal early
Yeah.
on, and then just breaking those 6 tackles. As Jake said, the last time he saw that was the late Nick Costa at Bishop's running through Rondebosch. What he didn't say was he ran through every team. I think he got 40 tries in one season.
Jeez.
Yeah, he
Wow.
ran through everyone, be it SA schools, province schools, or playing for Bishops.
Sure.
Even when Bishops lost the game 38-34, you knew he had 4 tries. So rest in peace, Nick Costa.
Yeah.
You'll never be forgotten in this part of the world. Best schoolboy I've ever seen play in terms of loose forwards. Played for the Barbarians. That star-studded Barbarians at Wembley. Jake and Eddie coached them. They lost 18-13 to the Wallabies. Robbie Deans was the coach. And he came
Right.
on. And he played with Skulkberger, Richie McCaw, Jerry Collins. And that probably would have been one of his career highlights when
Yeah.
he came on as well. But yeah, looking at that matchup, I was so pleased that a hype produced that. And if you think Jasper is the incumbent at 8, if those 2 youngsters are the ones chasing him, it's healthy.
Mate, we've got lots of 8 options there. Lots of 8. Frankie Horn's just extended at the Lions. He's fantastic. Somebody could put in a shot for Achieva Diamani overseas. Sio's looking good in his moves to 8 when he plays there. There's
And
tons of
Trocky
talent.
Augustus, he's
Trocky's
going to
another
Ulster. He's
guy.
been good at the Northampton Saints.
The Chituka boys can play.
Yeah, Rowan Ackerman's played 8 for Gloucester. He's done well there.
Mpilo Gomedi.
Yep, but I do like Sia at 8.
Very nice.
And I think you could see him use a lot at 8 with the box this season and going into 2026. Akker,
Jeez.
yeah. I thought that was going to be the glory, but the Warthog was on the
I can't
charge.
believe it. That was just the most glorious race to the
Well,
try line.
Herschel was chasing.
He got one hand on and got dragged all the way to the line, mate. It was
The
glorious.
Warthog was doing the business.
Hey, intercepted go. I don't think the conditioning guy expected the hooker to have to do a 40-meter sprint
Yeah.
at the end of the game.
Imagine the Warthog in Dewan van der Merwe's body.
Game over.
Hey?
Game over.
It would be the new Jonah Lomo.
It would be. It absolutely would be.
I mean, Akker van der Merwe, just the ticker that guy's got.
Sure.
He's just such a charismatic player.
Yeah.
And he just gets on with it. But he's got a turn of speed.
Jeez.
Wow.
Power and speed. That's
Yeah.
an explosive
Eh?
athlete.
But he did give me a little gimme from Herschel. There you go. Let's see how fast you are.
Thanks for
that. This guy's real fast. So, yeah,
Amazing.
Akker,
Yeah.
for me again, I think if Rassie's looking at this, he'd say Jan Hendrik, only 28 minutes, but they started him. He's up against one of the best in the world, France.
Yeah.
Wilco obviously showing his dominance. Dubber was good with his carries, just the one line out throw miscommunication, but certainly played well, added a lot of dimension and punch. I thought Simon Marat played well. A lot of criticism over him in the past. Got through 80 minutes, which is got through the game without being injured, which is the key. And
What
then-
about Franz Larkham? Francie Larkin with all those touches, mate. I've never seen a tight end touch the ball. I don't think you should ever pass the ball to the tight end. Francois Haber's interplays, distribution, he was like their best playmaker.
You know, Francois, that pickup that he took off his toes and offloaded, I mean, it was just poetry. Eh? You know, they say that props are like the late Peter Fadialofa used to say that props were the piano movers and the flaws were the piano players. But if ever you've seen a piano mover play, that was Saturday.
It was like watching a circus be on a ball, mate.
No, and do you know what? Again, when he plays for the Springboks, he plays at a different level. Eh?
Totally.
But his work rate for the box is one of the most impressive. The tackles he makes, the rucks he hits, and the offloads that he makes, and not at the expense of his primary role, which far more enjoyable for him at the box, scrumming, than at the moment when he's basically carrying a pack.
Catching pass.
Yeah, he's carrying a pack until Brocky comes off from the veterans bench to help him. But France, just some wonderful skills. And when I looked at that Stormers side, they're 5 tries. I mean, some brilliant, brilliant tries that are going to get 47,000 people back to Cape Town Stadium. And that's the thing about what Dobbo and this team has achieved is people want to watch them play.
True.
And they can play.
True.
And yes, it was a very different dynamic with Yuri Matia at 10, very different to what Amani or Sasha or Damien would have offered. But somehow they still got the 5 tries. They scrapped, and the ticker of that team, wow. You can say what you want. They're never going to wave the white flag. Eh?
No. That's the end.
They go down fighting.
Yeah.
And they don't pick a hill to die on because they survived to fight another one.
Correct.
They're bloodied, battered, but they're certainly not broken. And it's maybe a draw would have been the ultimate result on Saturday. And we can talk about that to the 2 coaches in a fortnight's time.
Yes.
Then maybe they just give us a draw at Loftus and everyone goes home happy. But just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful advertisement for South African rugby.
Agreed.
And well done, Cape Town. There was plenty blue jerseys, of Bulls blue jerseys in the crowd. There was no malice in that game as well, and that's what I love. They played it hard, but it wasn't those old traditional derbies where there's niggle off the ball and dirtiness. They were embracing each other afterwards. There was disappointment, euphoria, but I just think our game has never been healthier. And I did a wonderful chat with Mark Alexander, as you guys did, and financially we're at the healthiest we've ever been. South African rugby, the healthiest in all the top tier nations. Credit to what Mark's done there. Rian now, Yuri prior to him. Take the equity deal that's fallen flat now. Take the press that's been around and put that on the back burner for now. And let's just acknowledge where we are. They invested 191 million rand in the URC. And 1.9 billion, I think it is, in the URC. That's 1.9 billion to pay for the rights to play in it for the 3 years in the Champions Cup. And we're going to see the results of that. And the guys will be flying business class and straight to London from next season onwards. And it will make a difference. So shout out to SA Rugby for what they've achieved, to Rassie and what he's done. 2 World Cups, 7 bronze medalists. Under 20s will get better. Kevin Foot's now back. We got Yakids there from Japan. We got Dwayne Vermeulen. So it's healthy. Our rugby's healthy at the moment.
Yep.
And you see that derby show just how healthy it is. And when you think of the players that weren't involved, the Bulls were missing half their pack. The Stormers were missing most of their backline. So, and we've got 10 great Springboks playing out in Japan, scoring every weekend. We're in a good place.
Yeah, I think we just got to cope with the length of the season now. And I think a lot of that comes back to the money, because with more money you can have a bigger squad, and if you've got a bigger squad you can manage the workloads better. I think the attrition rate in our teams is significant and probably makes it quite difficult to be consistent.
All right, mate, I'm just checking out something here. Keep on talking, mate. Keep on talking. I'm just checking out something here. Yes, we go. What did I ask you to remind me of today? I was walking around.
Yes, mate.
I was walking around.
Lion's Head and Sean.
So last week's Wednesday, I was walking around in Canal Walk, because I can do that occasionally. And this bloke came up to me and he said, "Hey, I just watched you and Zels, watched the show." And he says, "Love the show. I'm from Amsterdam. I've got a pub there called the Lion's Head. And Sean, shout out to you. I know you're going back on the 13th. Enjoy Amsterdam. We'll come visit sometime. pay for the flights, accommodation, and the drinks, and we'll be there. And we'll come do a show at the Lion's Head. Let's
Yes.
actually work on that.
Yes.
It's something that could be achieved.
Yes.
I can also get to see Jules.
Your daughter, yeah.
Yes, who's studying in Amsterdam, university there. So that's something to do. We can maybe do a whole Amsterdam, London, New York, Paris, Honeston.
Sounds
we go
amazing,
again.
mate. Sounds amazing.
Take us on the road. But shout out to him. And then a shout out and a winner of our wonderful prizes that we always give away here, courtesy of Citizen. Apparently he's the biggest citizen of the show. Pierce Smith from Durbanville. Married well. Got a very cool missus. Stays in a very cool place. Stays in a very cool suburb where I spent my high school career. Living in Durbanville opposite the golf course. But I went to Fairmont, not Durbanville. Ron School.
Close enough.
Right area. Junior school, Kells River. Northern suburbs boy. Soti, born and bred. Mauriki. But to Pierce Smith, thanks for supporting Zels and myself. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks for buying all the books. This time I wrote another one. Time Zels pinned one as well. You are the winner. Let's put the little gadget up. Oaken Brackenfall, Mr. John. You're the winner of the Citizen Watch. Enjoy it. Keep watching. Keep a hand on that time. Every time we come, Tuesdays, Mondays, Thursdays. We talk rugby. It's going to be full on for the rest of the year. There's so much rugby to come. We're even going to be talking about Rugby Pacifica because I think the All Blacks are coming. And they're coming to South Africa next year for 8 matches.
Woo!
And we're going to already start building that tour.
Let's go.
3 test matches, 4 matches against the URC teams, and 1 against the President's 15. And I believe there may be another match at Twickenham, a 4th one between the 2 teams. That'd be a big money spinner.
That sounds
but
good.
to have the All Blacks in South Africa in 2026 for 2 months, playing 8 matches.
Oh, mate.
I mean, we talk about the Lions
What a
because of the
pleasure.
history, but isn't that going to be glorious?
That is going to be extremely glorious. I wonder whether old Jamie will head back over here from.
He'll definitely be
He'll be
here.
in town, mate.
And a nice appetizer to wet it. Back-to-back, Auckland, Wellington, 9th and I think 16th of September. We
Yep.
play them this year. They're 50 matches.
Appetizer. It's the real deal. So it's the.
Appetizer to next year, mate.
Okay, I was
Come on,
gonna
mate.
say,
Let me finish.
It's the crunch match.
I think La Crunch is the crunch match when we play in France in Paris.
Nice segue.
In November.
Yes.
And then we go back in 2030 and we play 5 Super Rugby franchises, 3 test matches, and we may play 1 in the USA, Hong Kong, or somewhere on the way out.
Time to start
That
saving.
is going to be amazing as
Yes, it
well.
will be.
And then the Lions can go and have some real good competition. And hopefully they'll also take on a tour of Argentina.
Ooh.
Because that's the talk that the British Irish Lions will
I
add
would love to
Argentina
see that.
to their thing.
Hey?
I think they should do Argentina and South Africa on the way through. That would be
Mate,
great.
that'd be glorious.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So we are talking international. Pierre, wel gedaan. Dankie vir die ondersteuning en geniet die horlosie. And thanks again to Citizen. Thanks Nazi at Daddy's Deals, one of our partners. And yeah, thanks Imad for shooting that thing. It looks beautiful. As Donnie Trump would say, it's a nice watch. Very nice watch.
Doesn't have a calculator on.
Very
it.
nice watch. It says, and I hope it works, by the way. Only pretend.
There's 2 Zs in Citizen.
Yeah. 6 Nations, second round. Scotland, we won't give them much due because the most hyped team in the world,
Oh.
always the bridesmaids, never the bride. Best team in their history, going to break into top 5. We got to 5, we wanted to close
They're
down.
top 5 in the 6 Nations, mate.
We got to 5 in the world. We were basically willing to give up. Oaks are burning the jersey. They get into top 5, and the Thistle is just come on, Thistle, man. How many more South Africans, Kiwis, and Aussies can we get?
Oh, that is glorious.
But Gregor Townsend really believes that he lost Finn Russell, and he lost his 12, and that was the game. He wasn't watching that first 30 minutes because that game was long gone before James Lowe basically knocked out both their players without touching them.
That was the best part, mate. Jeez, for Ireland, full value for that win, in my opinion. Obviously, a very slick team. I'm not sure where Ireland are going to be when James Lowe goes because he really is the spark that gets that team going. I mean, I've never seen that guy have a bad result when he touches the ball. Something good always happens. And he was a phenomenal asset again this week in destroying Scotland.
A lot of people don't like him. Just obviously they don't know him. They don't like him as what they see on the field. It's
Yeah.
because his confidence and his
Fantastic.
arrogance, which you have to have if you're a confident player.
Yeah.
But he's so powerful in the tackle. Those big thunder thighs of his, those hips, they seem to break the tackles. I think he ended Darcy Graham's Lions aspirations there.
Yeah,
a little hip, boom.
Bow.
And then after that, he was gone, okay? So between him and Duan van der Merwe, they seem to be the top two for the left wing position. You got to pick James Lowe at the moment.
Without a doubt.
Duan, great finish, but he seemed to get a bit lost in that game as well.
Yeah.
The more Finn Russell went to the touchline, I think the more he wanted to go as well.
Yeah, I don't think Duan was upset. He got yellow carded.
Yeah, so I mean, Ireland were outstanding,
Yeah.
played really well. I do like Prendergrass. I think he's got something.
I agree. I agree.
Although they want him to succeed so much.
But he's 21 years old. I mean, he's brand spanking new to this whole thing, and I think his decision making is what separates him. He's a really good decision maker.
And I love his passing game. He's really got, they call it soft hands.
Yeah.
He's got time on the ball. That slight delay, a bit like Sasha, when he gives the ball, it's not hard. He just looks so smooth. But like Willie did at 10 as well, to watch him play, and he's got a good goal kicking, boots on him. Leinster Academy, they found their successor to Sexton.
No, I agree.
I think Crowley's a good one to have on the bench between the two of them. But I've been really impressed with him, and give him time.
Give him time.
He's played 2 test matches.
Exactly.
Kind of when he's got to come through the system, leapfrog some guys that are already in the Irish setup at Leinster.
Yeah.
But I thought Ireland were bloody good. And Dublin is starting to become the Six Nations finale. It's going to be Ireland against France to win the thing, even though my mates in London say, we're back!
No, mate.
England are back!
England are back nowhere!
The new dawn, the new era!
I mean, it was a very, very good result for them, and they'll be very excited about it. And they played well, and they got the result, and the score is on the board. But there's nothing about that England team that says they're about to click on to the next level. There's some guys that stood up. I think in Freeman, they've got a really good player. And there's certainly some elements there. But for the majority, that England team is full of triers, and it's noble the effort that they put in, but I don't think that team's ever going to break through to the next tier.
But if you look at that game, 25-19, 2 minutes to basically play. Ramos runs the ball back, gets isolated just outside his 22, penalty against him for holding on. They kick to the corner, from there they basically score. No one mentions that when I've looked at all the player ratings, and Ramos got an 8 out of 10. He missed a kick he shouldn't have missed. He made some vital mistakes that he normally doesn't make.
Yeah.
His game was more a 6. France was a 6 in that game. Now, Anton Dupont was a 6 at best, okay? He had a kick charge down. He dropped a pass that was a gimme to score. His tactical kicking wasn't great. It's probably the poorest game I've seen him play at test level. But you wouldn't believe it if you listen to that guy Carmody and Anton Dupont. Anton Dupont, have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, the last try that they scored, they kicked off 19-18 ahead. France has to counter-attack. He gets the ball on his 10-meter line. He pops it to Pinot, who starts the counter-attack. 80 meters later, through the brilliance of Pinot, bringing his other wing into play, they score. The company, Anton Dupont had the vision to pass the ball
the credit,
to Pinot. What Anton Dupont is now playing 10. Who's ever played 10 before Anton
That's
Dupont?
incredible.
And then at one stage, he said, Anton Dupont, first to the breakdown every time. What a 9. I'm like, look, we know he's a great player. We know he's a great athlete. But my goodness, he's not the greatest. And we saw behind a pack that didn't have absolute dominance, he was as vulnerable as many scrum halves are.
Yeah.
Some of his decision making was poor. He had a kick charge
Tackling
down.
wasn't great.
He missed tackles, and he dropped that sitter, which by standards, like, we haven't seen him do that.
Yeah.
So just also judge the merits of the player.
But also judge the merits of England based on that. The fact is, France had a really bad day at the office, completely off, and England scraped away with a little win there. I think this is classic France, isn't it? On the day, if they're in the mood, they can beat anybody, and on the day, if they're not in the mood, they can lose to anybody.
Look, I don't often cheer for the English, okay? Even though courtesy of on my dad's side, I've got how many passports, okay? Thanks, guys.
He's like Jason Ball.
I don't have to queue when I get to Heathrow. But some would say that the English are only really good for a passport. But they couldn't have really have played better or fought harder.
That's what I'm saying.
And credit to them with Finn Smith at 10, Marcus Smith at 15, where they say, now that's the new thing. But France never kicked on Marcus Smith. He's potentially one of the most vulnerable 15s. He's not a Freddie Stewart. They never kicked a high ball on him. So they were poor. France were poor. It's probably one of the poorer games they played, and they thought they got out of jail. But what I was pleased for, because I was cheering for England at the end, and I love France. I've always loved the country, and I love the people, but it's nauseating, this love affair with France, since we knocked them out of the World Cup. It's like we did them a dirty. The world did them a dirty. They were cheated. They stole the hosting of the World Cup from us.
Yeah.
And then we apparently went and stole the game from them.
Yeah.
But it's like France can do no wrong. They've got the greatest players, golden generation, but they were out in the quarterfinals. Dupont's the greatest player ever.
Well, he has to be, because that sentiment explains why none of those home unions can beat France. Because if they have to admit that he's not the best player in the world, then you kind of got to look in the mirror and be like, maybe we're just not that good at rugby here in England.
But look, I thought it was a brilliant game. Rassie posted on X as well that it was one of the more exciting, thrilling games he's watched. And their balling play was 35 or 36 minutes. And he gave the stats of the set piece.
Yeah.
And he said, don't change anything in rugby. The game's not broken. Balling play, and Nigel Owens, the revered referee, came in and said exactly, it's not about balling play, it's what happens when that ball's
Correct.
in play. And the one thing that, again, and it irritated me throughout the Six Nations round of matches, was Ireland went over the line twice within 5 minutes, and it was a dropout. Punishing the attacking team because they're going for, it's positive play, they're going for the 5-pointer, the referee can't make a decision, there's a pile of bodies, and you then award the team that's on their goal line.
We want scrums, mate.
We want scrums.
We
They're the
want
most
scrums.
magnificent thing in the game. And what slows the game down more? A scrum or a 4-minute review for a forward pass?
Correct, exactly. And
Well, not when in Paris, because they don't review anything there.
yeah, no, exactly. There was an incident again on the weekend. I can't even remember which game it was, but the ref was like, I'm happy that the try's been scored, but if you could just check something before that, I think there may have been a knock on at the ruck. And then the Timo went and had a look at the video, and he was like, yeah, it's actually a double movement in the try scoring action, so call the try off. Now, the fact that the right decision was made is irrelevant. The point is the system doesn't work, because the ref gave the Timo an instruction to say, I'm happy with the try. And then that call was overruled by the Timo.
But also,
what's the point?
The crazy thing was the referee was looking at that double movement when it happened.
Bingo.
And the first thing, the commentator said, surely there's a double movement there. So either you use technology right or you don't use it at all.
Use it completely or don't use it at all.
Exactly. So, England, a new dawn.
Nah.
They'll be back.
Nah.
Clive Woodward's
They
happy.
could actually lose that Kolkata Cup matchup when they play.
Clive Woodward's happy.
Scotland will beat them.
Clive Woodward's happy.
Who's
I'm
winning
happy.
the Six Nations? Call it.
Oh, Ireland.
France.
Ireland. Leinster will beat Toulouse in Dublin, okay?
France are gonna win.
When they play it. France won't win it.
France
Ireland will win it. Ireland, too good, mate. They've got the momentum. This was a poor loss. A poor loss. Very, very poor loss, okay, for France.
I think this is the wake-up call. They get it back together. They've got the greatest player in the world at scrum off.
Yeah, I probably won't play that day.
No,
but,
no one will stop them.
I think Ireland now.
Okay.
Ireland. And what I've loved is that they slow start against England in Dublin. Very good for that 20 minutes after halftime. And I thought they started that against Scotland. That game was gone by 20 minutes.
Totally.
The dominance that was there, it was just one team in it. Scotland looked like they'd been hit by a sledgehammer, a green sledgehammer. Normally it's us that hits them like that. I thought Ireland was outstanding.
I always take the mickey out of Ireland, but what I will say they do really, really well is they produce great hookers. Between Ronan Kelleher, Dan Sheehan, those are two guys I love to watch them play. I mean, they're like prototypical test hookers, fantastic players.
And Rob Herring's not a bad third one to have
There
coming
you go,
in.
mate. They didn't really produce him, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, they matured him.
They matured
We
him.
sent him there at 20. Sax boy from the Western Cape. We sent him there at 20. Credit to Ireland, though, for developing him in Ulster. Dan Sheehan, him and Malcolm Marks, for me, up there with two of the best in the world.
Beautiful.
And I just thought, again, Jack Conan. He was here on the Lions tour. A very good player. Wow. I mean, if you can have a guy like that coming off the bench, you got some quality in that
got
team,
some
man.
quality,
Some
indeed.
good Kiwis there. Good Aussies. 3 great Kiwis, 2 good Aussies, and you know, some fine Irish players as well.
That's my favourite part of
Some
today's
fine
show.
Irish players as well. The last one, 14 in a row for Warren Gatlin. Let me remind people, it was 7 in a row when he came back to coach the Waikato Chiefs in Super Rugby. They eventually had to say to him, mate, take on the director role. We're giving the coaching to someone else. And that guy lost 1 of his next 9. Gats, I think he got it completely wrong in the British and Irish Lions series in the way he wanted to play. It played into our hands. We were so underdone in terms of preparation because of COVID. Our guys had basically an SAA game for 60 minutes
Georgia,
and 40 minutes against Georgia. And they had 26 of them had COVID. And then they went in and won the series 2-1. I think the game has passed him by in many respects, Warren Gatlin. He was incredible in his first run. 2 World Cup semi-finals, World Cup quarter-final, won 4 Six Nations titles, some big wins, 14 in a row, and this was supposed to be their biggest ever game. They went to Rome, great crowd in Rome, the Italians. Italians said they had to live with being favourites for the first time in their history. In the Six Nations, they were deemed favourites. And Quesada said that's what impressed him the most? They handled the favourite tag, 19-3 up, 22-8 up. Somehow Wales were given a penalty try, God knows why. 2 guys were sent off. And you know what? They were just still not good enough to get the draw. I think, what's it, Matthew who?
Carly.
Matthew Carly must have gone to Gats afterwards and said, mate, your boys I did everything I could. I couldn't walk over the next try. But Gats has got to go.
So for me, I think you're right in the sense that Gat needs to be more. He needs to be braver. He needs to show some courage, and I think the way to do that is with who his support staff is. I think between Rob Howley and the other blokes that have been there for who knows how long, I think Gats needs to roll the dice on maybe some younger, more energetic guys to come in with fresh ideas and to galvanise that team. I think you could turn. Wales can be at least as competitive as Italy are, but they need some fresh voices in there and some fresh ideas.
Wales, 14 successive defeats. They are 12th in the world rankings. Georgia are ahead of them at the moment.
What a game.
Talking about Georgia, they've qualified for the World Cup. So have Spain, so have Portugal. I don't know, there's so many teams going there. Maybe Germany will also be at How many teams are at the next World Cup? More, eh? Everyone seems to be qualified. And I believe Zimbabwe's also on track to qualify as well. That would be fantastic to see them there. It's been Namibia has always gone. A few ex-Aussies playing for the Zimbabwean side as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wales. I think Wales need to kind of start looking in the genealogy. They need to start getting 6 or 7 Kiwis, 2 Aussies, a couple of Saffers into that mix. Grandmother born here, church burnt down, no record. It's the only way. So Graham Henry did to get them started. Steve Hansen inherited that. Gats them built on from that. Squad of players not quite there, but also the coaching not quite there. I thought it was a shocking performance given what they were playing for. And the one thing you've always associated with Warren Gatland's teams, heart. It's like you say, the Stormers don't give up, Wales don't give up. Hard bastards, they don't go away. They just folded. And that wonderful Italian fly of Tommaso Allen, John Allen's nephew, did the man of the match, post-match interview. He's been one of the great goal kickers in the Six Nations this year. What a South African accent. Played for Province under-19s, schooled in England. I think he may have dabbled a bit here at Bishops, I'm not sure. But he has been to Cape Town, en route back to Italy. But wonderful interview he did with his daughter.
Oh, wow.
Sounded like a true blue Sapper chatting there. We'll claim him. Whenever anyone wins it, we're claiming him, okay?
He's one of us.
He's one of us, yeah. So a victory for South Africa.
Fabulous.
In kind of way in Rome. But just great to see the support for Italy. Benetton has been a big success for them in the URC. I'm raising my voice because the wind is blowing here. The winds of change. Wales, they got serious problems at regional level. They got serious problems at national level. And my goodness, I can't see them winning a game now in the Six Nations. Wooden spooners. Hey, that's 4 titles and 2 wooden spoons. Gats will say, you asked me to win something, I did.
Cabinet's full.
The cabinet is full. We'll be chatting URC this weekend. We'll be chatting on Thursday, Zels and myself, when we kind of get a measure of the teams that are playing. It's a full round of URC.
Yep.
The big game is going to be at Loftus. It's the Sharks against the Bulls. Very little to choose between those two teams. Home ground advantage. The kicking of the Sharks will come to the fore, and then the Stormers. Dobbo takes his brave but battered Stormers up to play the Lions, and no visit to Johannesburg is ever easy against the Lions.
It is not.
And
that's Mornay Steyn.
Yeah, that's Mornay Steyn telling me that, listen here, it's not about the ball, it's about the kicker. So we'll take that from Mornay Steyn. It's about how good you are as a kicker. Do you have the clutch or don't you have the clutch? We will be chatting. Zels, it's been an absolute pleasure.
As always.
Thanks for taking the trek on the ferry from Bloberg.
Pleasure, mate.
Imad, thank you. Aister, we let him stay in Brackenfell. He's umpiring somewhere. Guys, keep on tuning in. Go to our WhatsApp channel. Hopefully Thursday I won't have to be screaming. Because the wind will be subsided, but we do like our new location.
Yes, we do.
It's in nature, it's out in the wilds. And listen here, guys, keep on watching, keep on subscribing, keep on reading the blog, and mail me Keo at keo.co.za. Drop me a line on X if you want any questions answered. If you want us to speak to certain people, we'll gladly do that. But to the Bulls and the Stormers, I just want to say thanks, guys, to Jake and Dobbo, to the 2 captains, and especially to Cam and Evan. Thanks for giving us a super Saturday.
Yes,
there had to be a loser. Unfortunately, it was the Stormers.